Ding dong. So as we all know, I have a great disdain for the movie Holy Mountain. I also hate the Knight of Cups. And the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus? I don't like those movies. And when people ask about esoteric movies, they always mention one of those three. So I thought, why don't we talk about movies that I think are good and also a little bit esoteric? Number 10. Spring, summer, fall, winter, and spring. A nice, quiet, contemplative movie, set in a temple, floating in the middle of a lake. An archetypal old sage and a mischievous child are the only inhabitants. The movie plays out in 4 acts, each a time skip representing a season or stage of life, as well as perhaps an element, and symbolized by an animal. The themes in this movie at first display the normal Buddhist ideas of karma and suffering. However, the miraculous does peek out during certain points. Then towards the end, we are fully given themes to do with transcendence, transformation, the active feminine principle in the spiritual work, unveiling and the discovering of secrets, and all while done in a gentle way, pulls our consciousness towards the narrative which is like a string that threads itself through these seasons. It's a beautiful movie, true food for the soul. Number 9. Revolver. Gang wars, violence, meta-psychology, and the overcoming of the self through playing the ultimate game. Guy Ritchie made this movie after studying Kabbalah for a period. The story involves Jason Statham being locked away in solitary confinement for crimes. While reading random books from the library trolley, he realizes that the 2 criminals in the cells either side of him are communicating with each other through notes in the backs of books. One is a con man, the other is a chess master. Together they seem to be working on a formula to win any game. One day, they disappear into thin air. It's as if they could walk through walls or teleport far away. Statham, now alone, serves his time and is released. And although he does not fully understand why the game formula works, he does realize he can use it. So he starts cleaning out entire casinos, winning at any and every game easily, with the formula safely in his head. This, of course, begins to attract the attention of the mob, but before any major events can happen, he receives a message that changes things. I don't want to spoil what comes next, so let's just end by saying he learns how to use his perceived enemy to defeat his true enemy. Number 8. Babaziz, the prince that contemplated his soul. The story here is a bit difficult because it involves multiple characters with overlapping narratives and stories within stories, with deep meditations on what it means to love a brother, to desire paradise, to love a woman, to love oneself. These are the questions that get asked of the characters, and we see their journeys to answer them. One narrative involves a man seeking revenge against the dervish that killed his brother. But was his brother truly murdered? Did he perhaps want to die? If so, then who truly loved the man? His brother, that selfishly wanted to keep him alive? Or the dervish who aided him in annihilation? Another story, more of a comedy, follows a red-haired man who finds paradise and true love, yet through craving more loses everything, and has to constantly strive and fight to find his way back. The main characters, if you can call them that, is a young girl and her grandfather who are traveling through the desert to find a grand festival where all the Sufis are meeting. Along the way, the grandfather regales the girl with stories of a prince. The threads of all these stories overlap and entangle. At the apex, we are left with an ending that meditates upon love's true function as being a fiery transcendence of death by the immortalizing of the human through the intertwining of souls. Perhaps, in the end, only the madness of the fool can survive the fire of love. 7. Onmyoji, the Yin-Yang Master. Okay, so this one's pure fun. There's a sequel and both are good. But first things first, what's an onmyoji? Basically, you know the idea of kings and queens in medieval time having a court wizard like Merlin or a council of court astrologers and alchemists? The Onmyoji were basically that, but Japanese. Kind of imagine someone who's halfway between a Shinto priest and a Taoist sorcerer that serves the government as an anti-black magic task force. That's basically what the Onmyoji were. So now, what's the movie about? Well, Abi no Seimei, the Giga Chad of the Onmyoji, and his completely heterosexual best friend life partner, Lord Hiromasa, team up to fight ghosts, black magicians, and stop evil gods from destroying the capital, all while dropping wisdom and radiating absolute aura along the way. I love these movies. 6. The Lighthouse. I knew when I first watched this it would be an instant hood classic. The Lighthouse, on the face of it, is about two lighthouse keepers that slowly go insane due to isolation. But esoterically, it's about the encroachment of pagan gods into Christendom, where the lighthouse keepers are literally fire priests, and to keep the light, guard the light, while not looking directly into the light. That'd be blasphemy. But what would be real blasphemy is if you don't go see this movie right now. I know many of the scenes have been memed, and how can a movie with literally only 2 actors be any good? But just trust me. If you liked The Northman and if you thought Nosferatu was a masterpiece, this is the real gem, loaded with arcane scenes and unreliable narration. It's perfect. 5. The Boy and the Heron. I love Studio Ghibli. I am personally a Howl's Moving Castle enjoyer, a Princess Mononoke fan, and I love The Cat Returns. Laputa Castle in the Sky also has some real Atlantean vibes, if you've seen it. You know what I mean. But The Boy and the Heron is a masterpiece. From dimensional traveling to the fire of the divine feminine, Miyazaki takes us on a chthonic underworld journey to find the demiurge so we can become co-creators of a new world. Absolute cinema. I will say no more. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. 4. Legend. Back in the 80s, when Ridley Scott was good, he made one of the greatest modern fairy tale movies, right up there with The Labyrinth and The Last Unicorn. Legend is about a being called Darkness, whomst plots to slay the last unicorn's lol, so that the world can be cast in an eternal night. Meanwhile, a princess representing a not yet mature intuition, and a wild forest boy representing instincts and a Parsifal-like innocence, accidentally allow goblins to slay one unicorn. With one down and the princess captured by darkness, Tom Cruise sets out on an impossible mission filled with adventure. Will the power of friendship be enough for Jack to reach his goals?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Elf Shota, Drunken Dwarves, and Budget Tinkerbell notwithstanding, there's an interesting scene where the gang link up and need to sync their clocks for a joint operation. And when they pull out their timepieces, you get a really interesting insight into how other beings experience time. Such a random little tidbit in this movie, but it's one of my favorite scenes. Nonetheless, masterpiece of fairy tale fiction and storytelling. Go see it now. Tim Curry, best Satan in cinematic history. Go watch. 3. The Ninth Gate. Okay, this is epic. Here we have Johnny Depp as a sort of noir detective rare book dealer. He gets tapped by a wealthy billionaire to authenticate a 7th century tome said to be capable of summoning the devil. It was recently purchased when the previous owner unalived themselves. Undaunted, Johnny travels to Europe to find the 3 other owners and unlock the mysteries of the book. This in itself initiates a series of events with assassins, ritual murder, and satanic cults, all while being followed by a mysterious girl with green eyes who may or may not have supernatural powers. Now, the real crux of the esoteric nature in this movie are the 9 engravings in the book. After you watch the film, go find the pictures online. These things have been crafted with much care and are clearly inspired by real-world hermetic and alchemical art. So much so that you can actually derive a very interesting Gnostic doctrine from reflecting upon them. I'll say no more. 2. Ink. This one is a hard one for me, because I love this movie. It's one of the hardest hitting tales, and it's crafted with love. The story of the movie unfolds in 2 different dimensions. In the physical, a struggling businessman is trying to close a deal, while his daughter is sick and unconscious in the hospital. And in the astral dimension, his daughter's spirit or soul has been kidnapped by an entity called Ink. Throughout this movie, we're set to see the father's choices, and why he makes them, and the 2 different factions on the astral plane, the Sandmen and Incubus, as they try to influence him. There may even be a little bit of time travel, if you know what I mean. But nonetheless, this is a beautiful movie, and it's this high on the list for a reason. There's only one problem. Ink is low budget. And by low budget, I mean no budget. I'm pretty sure they couldn't even afford costumes for the Sandmen, so they just told the actors to wear their own clothes. There's even a guy with special powers introduced at one point who has been blinded by God, and this is represented by literally putting duct tape over his eyes. So I know this is a big call, but I need you to understand, this movie is so good, it transcends any of the limitations of production that I've showed you. I've told you to watch other movies on this list, but I'm begging you to watch this one. You will never forget it. 1. Circle of Iron. The story of a seeker named Cord, a Conan-based archetype who's journeying across the land to find and defeat the great Zetan. Cord is a martial artist with no fighting style. From no school, he is self-taught and comes off as primitive to others. But because of this attribute, he is able to do what others cannot or will not do. Other than that, we know nothing about his past or his motives, more than the fact that he wants to find and defeat Zetan in battle to obtain his Book of Secrets and ultimate knowledge. As such, Cord is a literal embodiment of the narrative thread that links the events of the story together. And what is the story? It is nothing more than a metaphorical representation of the path to enlightenment itself. Cord follows his blind master through different events and the multiple lives of characters that each have their own stories with moral-like qualities to them. He is confronted by esoteric tests. He gets his desire tested, his mind tested. He even has to face the literal incarnation of death at one point. And through the tutelage of his blind master, who may or may not be able to see the future, he is able to gain wisdom. As such, however overplayed you think the Warrior Sage story is, upon watching this you will realize a true gem of cinema. From the Technicolor film to the locations, props, and all-star cast, the fact that this was made in the 70s just gives it more of a charm. After watching this movie, you'll never eat apples the same way again. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to help support the channel, if you'd be so kind to leave a like and a subscription. You can also find me on Substack and Twitter. Also do consider becoming a member of the channel for some bonuses, if you will. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.